Welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by AT&T and Alpha Insurance. Thanks for starting your Alabama football Saturday with us. Now, you're probably sitting at home saying, man, those pullovers those guys have got on this morning look terrific. And you'd be right. Original elephant wear from the locker room on the University Strip is where we get all our clothes for Crimson Tide Kickoff. It is a Tuscaloosa tradition. 46 years, Mr. Gatewood and Company have been taking care of people as far as their clothing needs are concerned. And the original elephant wear has taken off like nothing I've seen in a while. You can go by the store, drop in on them. They're open today. They're open 6 days a week. Or you can look them up online. Just go to www.locker-room.biz, or you can just Google search Locker Room Tuscaloosa and it will come up. They've got shirts, they've got pants, they've got pullovers, they've got it all. The original elephant wear at the Locker Room.
Well, our first guest this morning has been covering the Crimson Tide for close to 30 years. Cecil Hurt is the lead sports columnist for the Tuscaloosa News and has been with the paper since 1982. Cecil, good morning to you. How are you today?
Hi, Don. Hi, Gary. How are you today?
Doing great, Cecil. Good to have you. You know, this is the same football team it was a week ago.
Sure.
Same guys, but you lose one game, and it's amazing how perception changes almost immediately.
Never as good as you think you are when you hadn't lost a game, and you're never as bad as people think you are when you do lose a game. And so it's going to modulate. That's what this game is about, to sort of see where in the middle they're going to fall.
Cecil,
go ahead, John.
Mark Ingram had a quote that a lot of guys that they thought that they could just show up at South Carolina because they were Alabama. And then Saban responded to it on Monday in a rather colorful way. What was your response to that? Did you think that was the case at South Carolina?
Well, I think what Mark was trying to say was that really everybody on this team who's not a senior had not lost a regular season game. You know, the juniors, the sophomores certainly had gone through a national championship season. The freshmen had just gotten here, and most of what they had seen when they were recruited was Alabama winning every week. So they just hadn't had that experience and that taste of losing. You know, Mark hadn't lost a regular season game since he'd been at Alabama. So it becomes a situation where you believe that it's because of the jersey you put on or the name that's on the back, and it's not because of the things you do during the week to get there and the hard work that you have to put in to win. So, Coach Saban just said that he didn't really know. You'd have to talk to the players about what the players were feeling, but that you have to do that hard work and that you've got to set a standard and play to that standard. And I think that's what Mark was referring to. I don't think he meant anybody was lackadaisical or not trying, just that they hadn't been through that experience.
You know, Cecil, no coach in America works as hard at trying to keep that attitude from permeating itself than Nick Saban. But when you had a lot of success, it is harder. It's harder to get people ready to play every week. Now, Alabama has experienced the loss. Saban has said you hope you can learn lessons without having to have that negative result. But nonetheless, now they got to go forward.
They do. And obviously Coach Bryant, first of all, was a master psychologist at dealing with these things, and he had similar situations. But he also, the number situation were different. They played a lot more guys. They could motivate that way. You know, if you didn't play to a standard one week, then there's 6 guys waiting to get your job because you had a bigger roster, you had more scholarships, and wishbone offense just sort of dictated that. So, Coach Saban really tries to do it, to instill it from within with these guys to make them. That's why they bring in all the motivational speakers. That's why the Pacific Institute's here. That's why they go through all of that indoctrination in the off season into understanding that it's about putting the work in. It's about playing to a standard rather than just listening to what the fans say, which is, hey, you're great, you can go out there, you can win by 40 points.
They never say that at Alabama, do they?
Sure, all the time, and particularly to the players, even the people who have what I'm sure is constructive criticism for the players when they're not there. When they see them, man, you're the greatest player in the world. So.
Well, Cecil, unfortunately, in college football, you lose one game that can be detrimental to a team in terms of a team like Alabama that's striving for the national championship every year. We have the projected BCS standings that ESPN.com's Brad Edwards released earlier this week, and this is the projected BCS standings when they come out tomorrow. Don't know if this will pan out or not, but right now you see Boise State, Oregon, TCU, Oklahoma, Ohio State at number 5. As the conventional wisdom is, as they go through the season, their strength of schedule will propel them upward. But my question to you is, how many of those teams ahead of Alabama, and they play LSU Auburn, have to lose for a one-loss Alabama team to play for the national championship?
That's a hard question, John, because so much in the BCS formula, depends on not only what teams do, also what their opponents do, also what the human factor in the polls is. So, you can actually get ahead of a team even if that team doesn't lose, if they don't play particularly well, if they get voted down in the human poll. If Boise goes out and beats San Jose State by 1 point tonight, that's going to knock them back some. That's going to change the perception. And so it's hard to sit there and say, obviously you've got to get to second. You don't have to get to first. You just have to get to second. So 8 teams need to lose. As Alabama or any Southeastern Conference team, whether it's Alabama, Auburn, or LSU, or South Carolina would be the 4 who sort of still have a chance because they only have 0 or 1 loss. As those teams keep winning, they'll move up in the polls, and whether it'll all work out in the end is just going to depend. Alabama's going to have some help. They can't just run the table from here and say automatically that they're going to be in Glendale. So, you look at Oregon, you look at Ohio State, you look at having both teams in the Big 12 championship game have a loss before they get there, and those things would help. Or obviously a few teams are going to take care of themselves. Either TCU or Utah can't go undefeated. Either Boise or Nevada can't go undefeated. But if you're Alabama, you'd rather see Utah and Nevada win those games than Boise and TCU.
Real quickly, we got about 30 seconds left. Any update on Julio Jones, DJ Fluker? DJ probably not going to play tonight.
DJ won't play. I think that Julio will try to play. Whether he'll be 100% effective, I don't know. But he's certainly practiced enough to where I think you'll see him.
Cecil, Houston Nuts got 8 wins over top 10 teams.
Mm-hmm.
People quickly dismissed Ole Miss when they lost to Jacksonville State, then lost at home to Vanderbilt. But
right.
This is a tailor-made Houston Nuts situation. He'll have them ready to play tonight.
He will. The last 2 weeks they've played a lot better offensively. They beat Kentucky in about the same fashion, about a little bit more of a margin than Auburn did. So if you want to start comparing scores, you can get tripped up pretty quickly. But you can look at it that way and say they're playing good football.
Well, Cecil, we appreciate the time. I know this makes for a long day for you as it does for us, but we'll see you at the ball game tonight.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, Cecil Hurd from the Tuscaloosa News joining us on Crimson Tide Kickoff. And up next, homecoming, always a lot of fun, but it does mean some logistical changes on campus. We'll have someone that can tell you all about that, where you need to go before, during, and after the ball game. And also be sure and stay tuned for our second half hour. We'll be joined by the noted author Winston Groom. He wrote the book Forrest Gump and has a book out. He's had it out for a while. The Crimson Tide and National Championship Edition, though, is the update to that. Winston Groom is going to talk about that in just a few minutes. So stay tuned. You're watching Crimson Tide Kickoff live on WVUA TV.
Morning.
And welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff. Our next guest is a friend of the show, friend of the station. Anytime we need the latest on game day traffic, game day changes, we call her up. She says, "What time you want me?" And she shows up without fail. Jenna Johnson is the Associate Vice President for Auxiliary Services at the University of Alabama. Jenna, good morning to you.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Gary.
Well, good morning. And I want to start off by asking you about game day changes today. What game day changes will there be with homecoming as far as traffic goes?
Well, of course, we want to welcome everybody back for homecoming. It's a little bit quiet right now, but come noon, we will have quite a lot of excitement here on University Boulevard. We'll close University Boulevard about noon, and it'll stay closed until about 2 p.m. for the parade to pass by. Parade starts at Greensboro Avenue and continues down University Boulevard to Hackberry. And then we will reopen University Boulevard, and it will close again at 5 p.m.
And Jenna, I know one thing that you wanted to mention was post-game traffic today, and the key word there is patience.
Absolutely, John. We will be closing and going home close to midnight tonight, and that creates some additional problems with post-game traffic. We have lots of different routes that we encourage fans to take, but when a game ends that late, fans tend to be a little less risky, and they take their favorite route, which tends to be McFarland Boulevard. So please be patient as you exit Tuscaloosa and head back home. If you can stay around and enjoy friends and alums that you haven't seen in a while, and then exit a little bit later, that probably would be a good advice.
Well, Jenna Johnson, thank you very much for your time. Always nice to talk to you.
Thank you, John.
All right, that's Jenna Johnson from the University of Alabama. And stay tuned. The second half hour of Crimson Tide Kickoff is coming up in just moments. You're watching Crimson Tide Kickoff presented by Alpha Insurance and AT&T. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment. And coming up on the bottom of the hour, and don't touch that dial, we still got a lot more to do this morning on Crimson Tide Kickoff.
You bet. You're just getting cooking here on a Saturday morning. Coming up in the second half hour of the program today, we'll talk with Winston Groom. He put out that great illustrated history of Alabama football, the Crimson Tide, a few years ago. Now he's got it updated to include the national championship. We will talk about that. Also, Harry Harrison, who is an outstanding color analyst for the Ole Miss Radio Network, will join us. He was a great football player for the Rebels, too, in the early 70s.
Plus, we'll have our SEC roundup. Why does Cam Newton, the Auburn quarterback, mention team chemistry and Walmart in the same sentence? Richard, you got an answer for that one?
Not exactly, but I do have an answer on your forecast. In fact, we've got some nice weather to talk about coming up after the break. Also, we'll talk about the parade forecast and the kickoff. You're watching Crimson Tide Kickoff. Stay with us for much more.